Hi everybody, today we're going to go over how to use Google Drive and particularly the Google Slides component of Google Drive. So the first thing we want to do is log into your My ASU account, and then you should see some icons here at the top. If you don't see the Google Drive link, you can go to View More and see some other stuff here. But the Google Drive link will take you to your ASU Google Drive. So this one's mine here, and you can see I've already got a bunch of stuff in here. You can ignore that, but what you should do if you want to start a new document is you can do new, and you get your choice of Google Docs, Sheets, Slides. There's a bunch of more stuff here, but we want to work on Google Slides today. So I'm going to go to Google Slides, and if I just click this, it'll take me to a blank one, or I can go to From a Template, and you'll see a list of Arizona State University templates. I really like this one. It's really basic, but you can peruse those and see how they look. And now I have a Google Slides template that I can use. And there's a bunch of stuff that's already populated in here that we can use. I want to make sure that I rename it. So this is a Google Slides tutorial. So that renames it there. And I want to, just by clicking on the title, I'll select all of it and then do Google Slides tutorial. And this is for FSE 100, Introduction to Engineering. Awesome, right? So those are all the templated ones, right? So if this is my tutorial, right? So this is my title slide. And most of the time when you start with a new slide deck, it'll just have the title slide already built for you. If I want to do a new slide, I can add one by clicking the plus sign here, or I can choose a new slide with a layout, and I get all these different layouts, and most of these are defined by the template or what you want to use. Some of them are like headline with text, or something that typically would use an image, like a bunch of these big ones. Here's one that is a title and a description with an image, stuff like that. We're just going to do some basic headline with text type stuff. So this one is, let's call it playing with text and shapes, right? So usually the layout will have a title area of some kind like this, and then you'll have the text area. And in the text area, we can write some stuff in here. And I can go through and I can change I can make it bold, I can make it underlined, I can change the color to something in the theme. I can even change the background, like the highlight. Let's change it to the ASU orange so that it kind of matches, that sort of stuff, right? So we can see all kinds of good stuff about the formatting there, and we have the normal text size and font and all that kind of good stuff pieces in there. Now, let's say we want to add an image. I can do insert image, and I can either upload it directly from my computer or I can search the web. Instead of using the insert tool, we'll just do a Google image search. And let's do ASU campus. Right, so we get a whole bunch of pictures of the ASU campus, and it's whatever is in Google's sort of preferences. But one thing you want to do is, if you're ever doing anything, you want to make sure that you hit Tools, then Usage Rights, and hit the one that's labeled for reuse with modification. Otherwise, you have to cite, or labeled for reuse. Otherwise, you have to cite where you got it from. And I'm partial to SIDSI, so we'll use the Decision Theater picture here, and this is on the Wikimedia Commons, so it's free and available for anybody to use, typically without issue. And I can just click right on it, and then I can go back to my thing here, and I can paste it right in. It takes a little minute to download. I can use the corners to pull it around and resize it. If I double click, I can crop the image. So if these little black bars show up, I can crop the image just to take part of the image that I prefer. Sorry, there we go. There, I'm cropping it. I just want to see these parts, not the whole thing, right? So now I've got a snazzy little thing there. And you'll notice as I'm dragging this around and positioning it, there's these red lines that show up. Those are guidelines, and it helps me with alignment. So this says, this red line says that my center of the image is aligned with the center of the slide. This one says it's aligned with the right edge, the bottom and the right edge, so I get it dead on and it sort of snaps into place, which is really handy when you're trying to align things. Now let's say I want to add a background image to make the background a little bit more interesting. So let's do something that's just like a generic presentation background. So let's pick this one right here. And this one gives me a pretty good one. Again, it's Wikimedia Commons. And what's cool about Wikimedia Commons is if you click on it, you get a page that goes directly to it, and it'll also give you a bunch of different sizes. So I can click on whatever version I like. I can, again, copy it, and then I can paste it into my presentation. Now notice, I want this to be a background image. So I want it to sort of fade into the background. I want it to be in contrast with the rest of the text. I want it to be out of contrast with the rest of the text and the other things that are on the presentation. So I don't want it to be sort of in the way of anything. So I want it to be in the back, and I want it to be sort of subtle and washed out. So we're going to do a couple things. So first I'm going to click on the image, make sure I've clicked on it. Then I'm going to hit Format Options. And I want to do adjustments, and I want to set my transparency pretty high, right? So if I set it high, what this does is it makes it transparent, and it's still in front of the other text. So you'll see it sort of wash out the other things, but it makes it sort of fuzzy and in the background, but it adds some like nice texture to the big white areas and stuff like that. So that's a pretty high transparency. 80, 85 is pretty good for that one. And now it's still in front, so if I ever try to click, I can't click on my text because I'm clicking on the image. So what I want to do is click on my image, right click, do order, and I want to send to back, and that makes it a true background image. So now it's all the way in the back. If I click on the text, I edit the text. If I click on my image, I edit the image and my stuff like that. So it's part of the background now. And if to actually edit it, I have to find a place where there is no text, and that's the image itself right there. You can see I can resize it and I can reposition it. Sorry, not that one. I can reposition it if I want to sort of hit it where I want it to land, right? Great. So the next thing is to add some shapes. So we have a wide variety of shapes, and these are really good for drawing diagrams and stuff like that. You can play around with all of them, but they're pretty straightforward. You just pick which one you want, drop and drag, and it populates with whatever the template defaults are. So we can always choose. Right now it's this really ugly gray with a red border. I want to choose a better color. Let's make it sort of a light cornflower blue, and I want to make the border sort of a darker blue. So it's kind of a nice highlighted button. And when I click on it, I can just start typing something that is, this is a button, this is something else. I can make, let's drop a circle in here, and I'll drop a circle. Again, it's that terrible color. Let's make it light orange with a border, dark orange. And this is, an item of some kind. It's important, but all you have to do is click on it and start typing, and it fills in the text. And you can tell it what kind of alignment you want in the text by using the align menu. So I can say I want it to be centered, I want it to be at the top, all that sort of stuff in there. And what's also cool about these shapes is you can connect them. So the lines and connectors area allows you to choose whether you want to connect it with a line, straight up line, so that we have these lines that we can draw, or I can do like a elbow connector. And in this case, it's something that automatically sort of links the two pieces, and it figures out where the links are. And you'll notice what I did is I anchored it in two places. So there's this first anchor over here. When I drag it near a shape, these little purple anchors show up, and when I drop it onto that thing, it's connected. So as I move this guy around, the thing tries to figure out where to put that line in sort of a way that makes the most sense. If I want to turn this line connector into an arrow connector, I can choose the end point of the piece here. So that changes it to a little empty arrow, or I can make the other end a like little circle thing or whatever I want. But that's a real nice thing. I don't have to redraw my lines every time I want to change the layout of my shapes if I use those anchoring things, which is pretty cool. Now, one more thing that's really, really cool is I can make my shapes into buttons. I can make them actually do things, right? So one thing that I can do is I can insert a link to a button, right? So this link here can either be a URL. I can make it go to my.asu.edu, or so I can just select that, right? And I hit apply, and now when I'm in presentation mode, if I go to presentation mode here, when I click on this button, it actually takes me to a web page, right? Which is pretty cool. But what I actually want, that's not exactly what I want. What I want to do is, I'm going to get out of presentation mode, is I want this, I'm going to remove the link, and we're going to insert a new link. I want to make it a link to another slide in this presentation. So I can make the button go to the next slide, or I can go to the previous slide, or I can go to any slide that already exists in the presentation. So let's make it the home button in this case, right? So here, when I go into presentation mode, when I click on this button, it will take me to the very first Google slide. And typically when you click on a slide, it just goes to the next slide, which is the normal behavior. But if a specific button here, if I click anywhere else, it'll go to the next slide, which is an empty slide. If I go back, if I click on the button, then I go to the home slide. And I can make as many buttons, as many links as I want. So I can make like games, or I can make interactions and all kinds of stuff like that. So these are some real basics of how to develop stuff in Google Slides. It follows a lot of the same patterns that you would normally do. But one thing that's super cool about Google Slides is that it's collaborative. So if you've ever used a Google Doc or a shared document or something like that, you can do the same thing with Google Slides. You can go to share, and then you can share with people and add them as I'm going to add them here with editing rights, right? So I can say, I'm going to add my friend Anthony. He is going to be an editor, send a little message, and it'll send him, when I say send here, it'll send him a little message that says, hey, you've been invited to collaborate on this. And then once it's received, they can join, and you'll see them with a little cursor, and they can edit at the same time that you're editing. There's also a little chat window that shows up that can show up over here, and you can see what is going on. You can chat through the interface. You can collaborate on a slide deck, which is really cool and really powerful.